model with the data, test the model, and use your analysis, performance metrics. And finally, one important point is deployment, where we don't do it actually. So this is the logic which we are been lagging of here. I'll tell you what are the procedures which is to be done. So here, like this is the deployment. So deployment in sense, where do we deploy it? The calculation, we always stops from the performance metrics. We always stops. Like, so if you get 100% of accuracy, then okay. Then what is the role of this 100% of accuracy and doing for a kind of application? We don't bother about it. So finally, we need to check for the deployment. I'll talk about this deployment in a real-time scenario, how to be deploy all these things. So now get the data. So the libraries for getting the data and pre-processing the data, we have two categories. One is your NumPy and second is your pandas. So this is the logic. So NumPy is normally utilized for getting the arrays of data, a small kind of data. So where it is used for. So when you go for like a formulation of vectors, when you want to formulate a new algorithms, right? When you want to formulate a new algorithms, especially in the deep learning models, you can use this kind of NumPy, right? It is used internally to formulate the structure, internally to formulate the structure, internally to manipulate the data. We needed all sort of stuff which is required for here. But when you have a huge data to process, the NumPy cannot accommodate it. So rather, we can go for the pandas. So pandas can accommodate large number of data. And here, this pandas is normally utilized to get the data as it is. You can get the data in any frame format. So any frames, right? Any frame formats and any file format also. So it is utilized to get the data as if in the data frames. And moreover, it is utilized to get the data in terms of like what do you call like any file format. It can able to get any kind of the file format that can be taken into an account. So these are the two libraries which is utilized to visualize all these things. So these are the things which is being done over here. So for the visualization, data visualization. Data visualization. So these are the things which is required for this. The data visualization is required for this. So Matplotlib and the Seaborn, that is particularly meant for this logic actually. So this is how we can work on Matplotlib and Seaborn is for the visualization. When you want to have a graphical representation, when you want to have a kind of the pie charts, when you have a bar charts, histograms and everything, this Matplotlib and Seaborn, this is itself, it's a huge topic which covers a lot of libraries with that actually. So these three things are utilized to visualize the data, get the data, and see the difference, what is happening in each and everything. So you can find out what is the difference which is being available. So this is being normally done with the help of this. But once you install over all these cases, it is automatically installed in your software. So these are the two things. And third thing is all about here is separation of data. That can be done with the help of the Python itself. Now, before data separation, we need to pre-process the data. So pre-processing the data is important. So we have a lot of things in the Python, so to pre-process it. So what is the pre-processing in sense? When you have the benchmark data, you don't have to worry about it. So benchmark data will contains all the things, right? So benchmark data will have all the data as a pure data. So they will be correcting and make it out, or we can say it is a cleaned data. So all these things are put together and all these things are made it into an application. So everything is being done over here. So that is your clean data. So which you can make it into kind of an application. So that is the clean benchmarks. If the data is not a clean data, when you call the unclean data, so what are all the things is called actually? First, there may be some there may be a missing attributes in sense there may be some missing values. IoT to get the real-time value, or when you work on the image processing to get into this value, so then it is called as the we call this as a when there will be a chances of model is applied. So there may be some missing data which is been taking place over here. There will be some missing data which is been taking place over here. So from this missing place, we need to understand what is the concept which we have to take out. So we need to fill up the data. We have a lot of formulas to make it out. Filling the data, and more importantly, wrong data has to be identified. And this missing attribute data, we have a method called, this is it, SRM. So it is normally used 2022 concept, actually which has been identifies the automatic data. It identifies the automatic data, and after that it fills up the data with the logic. So it fills up the data with the logic. So this is how the working mechanism takes place. And you need to make it as a wrong data has to, we have what do you call, like any data like blood pressure, ECG, and respiration, right? So what happens is, I just on 120 and the respiration is 14, and you have another data which is called as like ECG. So when you talk about this, when you see these data, when these two data are considered, this data is something like, so other values or remains the same. Actually 34, 110, and 12 remains to be the same, but ECG cannot be zero for the live person. So this the logical, so we need to go for illogical data that has to be trained for a mechanism. So this is the logic we have to understand. And third thing about is, you need a uniform data to be processed. What we call as uniform data, the every data should be in uniform format. Otherwise, you need to integrate the, considers the same data over here. For example, let us see, this is the data. Now, like, let's consider this data actually. Have this data, for example, like something on the strings, and it cannot be processed over here. So this is the logic which you have to understand clearly. So this is the logic which you, so clear, guys. In following over one and one. So these are the steps actually. So please note down this model actually. Whenever who has been working on some kind of research, just take this model actually. This method. This is most the methods to be processed. Now the thing is, so to come separate the data, and again that is with the outputs. You need not do it, but if the data is without a, we need to make it. we need to make it as a label. So we need to make it mark as an output for which is required. If it not been labeled, you cannot work with a supervisory algorithm. You cannot work with a supervisory and a supervisory mechanism which has been there for an application. So this is how we have to understand. So process when you see this data. So please remember all this point. You won't get the problem when you work on the textual and CSV work on the mechanism. So you need to work on the mechanism, how the security data has been processed. So this is most logic which has been taking place. It is going to be a tough job. So this is hopefully you have understood what is it actually. So taking that data in while processing the data and while giving to the model. So this is how the logic works on, right? Um, Machine learning, you can go for this, and all these metrics and everything you. So this is the logic. So we used to work modules which we want to integrate, which we saw on the morning sessions, right? The models which have been. But when you go for the deep learning logic and everything, you have to adopt this TensorFlow or Keras, even with a or machine learning, because it will be easier for usage. So this is how the logic is. And after that, we have to train and test. See one by one. So scikit-learn will be utilized on starting from here. So will be done with the help of a scikit-learn. Deployment, we'll talk about. This is something like very important thing. Understand. Now, another question area which we are going to focus on it, and there will be the questions before moving on to the software. The blueprint and what are the precautionary steps you have to take before designing. This is to be made over here. So this based on this logic, we need to take over this mechanism. This is the case which we have to take care for you. So please have the video, because the morning I used to play the video, there was some problem. Software implementation and everything. Guys, it's very clear actually. Guys, it's very clear, like what is the steps which we followed and what are the libraries is required. So clear. A video question and answer. Please answer the questions in the chat bot itself. Or sorry, hopefully video is visualized, right? Hope. Can you see the video? Guys, can you? Okay. Okay, right. So I'll just and now I'll go for the questions. Yeah. Can anyone movie in this scene? I need answers. We talked more about the supervisory, unsupervisory, and everything. So the basic, we'll start with the basic question. Just tell me which model is supervisory or unsupervisory. Supervisory. Okay. Why? Why it is supervisory? If you have any other answers, please. Right. Okay. I'll come with you actually. Right. Supervisory. Any other answers? Okay. So run. Unsupervisory for some scenario. Okay. Unsupervisory for some scenario. And okay. Okay. So question is you have one. Okay. Any other answers? Actually, why? Because it has been instructed to rescue the people, and it doesn't understand what is integrated over here. So the basic supervisory model is integrated over here. Now, second question: what is the scene? What is the model? Everything which has been covered. So can you tell me which model is utilized? So can you tell me which is the model which is being utilized? Because we fixed the inputs, right? We fixed which model can be suitable for this. How does it identifies which model can be utilized for this? Machine learning model. You have machine learning models, right? So the machine learning models, what is the machine learning models to be machine learning, which model can be utilized for human analysis. It has to identify whether the human is present or not and everything, right? You just tell me which model can be utilized over here. Forest. Just please click on this whether you have a decision tree or the random forest. Which model is utilized? Morning we just discussed about these models actually, right? Decision tree and the random forest. Can tell me like which model is utilized? That is decision tree or random? See, like I'll just give you an 1 minute. I'll just share it again. Right? Or random forest. I talked about these two things, right? Random forest. And then we'll go for this splitting up the data and everything. Now the decision trees and random forest, right? Before moving on to this, our thing is like we have input rescue it. This is the logic, right? So input is the people and output is to rescue it. So this is what, and the rescue should so without any damages. So rescue is without damages. So this is the logic which we have. This is the logic which you need to understand. This is the logic which we have to. It has to identify the rescue. That is, it has to identify who are the people is alive, and if he is alive, we have to rescue it. This is the logic. So for alive, we have to branch. For the alive is the one condition, right? It must have some sounds. It must see like face recognition and everything. This things which is moving on here is the breathe, sounds, and face recognition. So these are called as the trees. Actually, these are called as a tree. By one, the breathe rate. If its breathe is okay, then it goes for a sound. If it is sounds is okay, then it goes. So this is already mentioned. So based on the conditional classes, based on the condition, then we go for a decision trees, conditional classes. when the decision tree combined with the is called random forest. Simple. Both are same, but this is something like which has been differ over here. So this is the things which we have random forest will be the best solution because the decision tree with the voting technique. Decision tree simple, but they have the voting technique to combine the outputs to get the consolidated outputs. This decision tree may lead to, but decision at random forest will not stop since we have integrated with the voting technique. Trees with the voting we call this a random forest. Simple. So in this scene we have this random forest as the mechanism. Understandability of the model is required to do the coding. The codes, like it is very simple. We have libraries, pick and place it, just substitute it, and you can. What is the difference between decision tree and your random forest, as we talked about, and ANN as a previous case. So we talked about ANN, what is back convocation, decision tree and your random forest, and hopefully this scene is completely with a random forest mechanism. Guys, it's clear. So we'll move
Yes,
on to
sir.
this implementation. To some uncontinuous, it may stop at one particular place. It may be trapped, right? When we are just integrating with the voting so guys, it's clear what is the difference between these two. Guys, it's clear up to now. Now we'll move on to the code actually, right? How this code is